Now, after 14 years of construction, Ethiopia has officially inaugurated a controversial mega dam built over the River Nile. The ceremony was broadcast live on TV. Africa's largest hydroelectric project has a capacity to produce more than 5,000 megawatts of power. The government in Addis Ababa says the project on the Blue Nile will provide electricity to millions of people across the region, not just in Ethiopia. The dam will be Africa's largest hydroelectric plant, but the dam has also been at the centre of a diplomatic row between Sudan and Egypt, who both fear their essential water supplies could be affected.
The project, which began in 2011, faced strong pushback from downstream neighbours in the region, particularly Egypt. 90% of Egypt's fresh water comes from the Nile, and there are fears it could restrict its water supply during periods of drought. They also argue it violates water treaties dated back to the British colonial period. Ethiopia says the dam is a sovereign right.
I want to make it abundantly clear that we have no intention to harm these countries. What we are essentially doing is to meet our electricity demands from one of the cleanest sources of energy. We cannot afford to continue keeping more than 65 million of our people in the dark.
Several attempts to reach an agreement over the years have failed. Egypt's foreign ministry spokesperson said his country would closely monitor the situation and would take appropriate measures to protect the interests of the country.
Ethiopia is set to inaugurate Africa's biggest hydroelectric dam. The Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam will power homes and industries across East Africa, but it's sparking tensions with Egypt and Sudan over the flow of the River Nile. For more, our chief Africa correspondent Jennifer Zabazaja joins us from Johannesburg. Jennifer, this has been 14 years in the making, finally being inaugurated. Talk to us about the significance of this dam, perhaps before we talk about some of the controversy surrounding it.
Exactly, Jumana. Today is really the culmination of a years-long push, as you were just alluding to there. 14 years of delays. There's been disputes, even potentially war threats, and reportedly even deaths. But Ethiopia is officially going to be inaugurating this $4 billion hydropower dam, set to be the biggest hydropower plant on the continent, and also one of the biggest in the world. Now, the significance of it is what you had just pointed out there. They are hoping, the ambitions of this project is to hopefully generate power for Africa's second most populous nation that can help, of course, electrify a number of Ethiopians that do not have power. But also, they're hoping to become a major player in the hydropower export industry, not just regionally, but hopefully globally. And we've actually heard from Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, who suggests it could generate $1 billion a year and also help the country with foreign currency inflows. And a lot of this was really how the country was able to leverage the Ethiopians, right? This has been fully funded by Ethiopians. There were no international funders that were brought into the mix. They were able to get donations and also cash bonds that people were able to buy. And so for many people, this is a rare opportunity of unity for Ethiopians, especially if we take a look at 2026 being a year where they're going to have an election. But of course, as you pointed out there's quite a lot of controversy around this dam.
Okay, let's talk about that, because neighboring countries, Egypt and Sudan, are not happy at all. And I believe they put out a statement saying that the dam's construction actually violated international law. Why so much controversy, Jen?
Right. And this has been an opposition from Egypt and Sudan for years. This is not the first time that we have heard their opposition. There have been many times, though, over the past 14 years of construction that they've tried to get all of these neighboring countries on board to agree with the constructs of this dam. But that has not been able to elicit any sort of agreement. And really, if we take a look at it from the perspective of Egypt, and this map is perfect to show it, 80% of Egypt's water needs are met by the Nile. And so the Nile River, of course, is integral to this part of the world, and also really globally if you take a look at it constructively. But also there's concern that some of these downstream players, as you can see there, Egypt and Sudan, potentially could have their own water needs affected if we do in fact see Ethiopia restricting some water downstream. And so as you were pointing out there, they are still opposed to it. So the question is, are there still going to be some more statements that are put out there, and internationally will we hear more?
Sitting nearly 2 kilometres long across the Blue Nile, the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam is a source of pride for Ethiopians. Through bonds and cash contributions, they covered most of the $4 billion price tag. But downstream, Sudan and Egypt have so far failed to reach agreement with Ethiopia about how the dam will operate, particularly in times of drought. Egypt is worried about the effect on the Aswan Dam. An international team of scientists has a solution, but it's not been taken up.
We fixed a level for the Aswan High Dam, and we said that, okay, you can construct any dams you want and operate it in any way you want, as long as that level of the Aswan High Dam is maintained. And it's at the critical level below which the things become problematic for Egypt.
Egypt relies on the Nile for 97% of its fresh water. And Egypt is also concerned about the dam being built in an area of seismic activity. Powerless to influence the running of the dam, Egypt and Sudan have been left shouting from the sidelines, most recently issuing a statement.
Both parties agreed that the Ethiopian dam has serious repercussions for downstream countries, especially with regard to the serious risks resulting from Ethiopia's unilateral steps to fill and operate the dam. Ethiopia must adjust its policy in the Eastern Nile Basin to restore cooperation between the basin countries.
Ethiopia's Prime Minister insists downstream countries have nothing to worry about.
If you examine the dams in Sudan and Egypt, you'll see they still hold sufficient water. Not a single litre has been reduced. We have no desire to put them in danger. At the same time, this does not mean we must sacrifice our own interests. On the contrary, we must use our own resources wisely while ensuring others are not harmed.
Ethiopia's government wants the dam, set to be inaugurated on Tuesday, to transform the lives of millions of its citizens. Only around half the population of 132 million people have access to electricity. With less than a year to go before elections here, the timing of the official opening of the dam might be seen as a welcome diversion for Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. It's one of the rare unifying events for Ethiopians in a country struggling with armed conflict or instability in 3 regions, as well as high unemployment and high inflation. Bernard Smith, Al Jazeera, Addis Ababa.
Don't miss out. Get the full picture. Subscribe to Al Jazeera for reliable news, expert insight. Like, share, stay ahead.